it's got the outdoor area. From that simple tube, we go to a tube that is very much the same size. Okay? Except that this one is angled. Right? And this looks, no, not something too far away from what you guys did in class last Tuesday or last Thursday. Okay? After that, your next one is going to look something like this, where it has one angled wall and one straight wall. Okay? And then finally, your third one is the one that I'm building right now. Is going to look like this. Are you recording? All right, let me move this out of the way so that it has something to contrast these against. So we took a look at the metamorphosis of form, right? Or not the metamorphosis, but the morphing of form. We started with that as a rough, simple shape that's easy to come up with. Anybody can figure out how big a square is if you're given an area, because all you do is type the area in and hit the square root. Okay, and most people know how to figure out the area of a rectangle. If I asked you to figure out the area of this, most of you would have a hard time. Right? It's not impossible to do, but you could figure it out through quite a bit of, if you were just doing it manually, you could figure it out through quite a bit of mathematics. Right? You have to create a whole series of triangles out of it until you could figure out how big it is. But if you did it in the computer, as long as you could mimic that shape, you could find out very quickly what the geometry is. So we went from that to this one, and from that one to that one, and you can see how the shape is sort of morphing along. And then finally, the last one is this one. Okay. Now, in this particular case, I chose to make one side high and one side low. The high side is 22 feet high. Okay, so it's the same height. The low side is 10 feet high. Okay. When we got to the third one, we chose to make the middle high. So this middle part here is around 22 feet, and if we put a crease in it, okay, and the two lower ends are, you know, somewhere between 10 and 12 feet high. And then we're doing the same thing with the third one, except that I've raised the height up to 24 feet. Okay? But you can see that as it progresses along, right, it becomes more and more visually interesting, and it provides you a roadmap, a method of developing these forms. If you try to jump straight into these forms, how are you going to know if you're getting the sizes correct? If you follow this simple step-by-step method, chances are that this as an object is going to be about the same size as that. Okay? This also talks a bit about iterative process, studio process. Okay? Have you guys ever imagined how many phones Apple and Samsung come out with just to finish their production model? There's probably hundreds of different phones that a designer makes, making little tiny changes. Cars. You guys have all seen concept cars, right? They make hundreds of versions with small changes on each time until they get it to where they want it. This is what I was telling the Design 4 students. If you don't like the process of making these kind of shapes, and you don't want to investigate one and then another and make it better, sometimes make it worse and then go back and make it better, then probably like accounting would be better. Because accountants are expected to always get everything done right the first time. Right? Studio process is not like that. So if you're interested in any form of design or art or engineering, forget it. It's not going to happen. You're not going to do it once. You're going to do it 40 or 50 times. That's just the way design is. Okay? Any questions about that? So my expectation is that you guys are all going to go through this process, okay, both physically in a physical model and then afterwards in a digital model. Okay? So in the same way that you can estimate this thing being similar in size to the thing that's under it, you could do the exact same thing in the computer. Okay? Any questions? All right, so the end result of this needs to be that we will take our building and place it on our site in such a way that we start to get an idea. First of all, number one, decide on a direction for the buses. So if my buses are coming in from here, that means they're going to park at this end, the opposite of where they enter, which means that my building is probably going to go across from that. Because there's no room, right? This building can't move front to back. You might be able to get it to go sideways, but then again, at some point, right, it's going to start to crowd the buses. So there are there's just a few different things that you can do, right, with the building in order to get it to work. All right, so we place our building, okay, and then the next thing that we have to do is to figure out how the canopy works with the building. And so that's part of the reason that I had to make different iterations of these canopies. These aren't necessarily to scale, but you can see that if I have a canopy, right, that I can take this canopy and sort of say, all right, I'm going to make it to where it fits the buses. Which brings up another thing. You guys are going to have to make the buses for your model. So you've got to make the little tubes, right, that create the shape of the bus. All right, any questions about that? Okay, so go ahead and continue working on these. We'll finish these up and have these up here and available to look at if you guys want to. I just want to give you a heads up that there's going to be quite a bit of homework between now and Monday or Tuesday. All right. Any questions?
So we're just putting roofs on those things now.
Roofs and walls. Okay, that's it. Stop the video.